This is the Galaxy S23 Ultra, 512GB model. Is it still worth buying in 2026? Well, stick around to find out. So I bought this phone in 2023, around February. I had it on pre-order, and I was upgrading from a Galaxy S20 Plus 5G. At the time, I wanted a phone that could do everything. A phone that could take videos in 8K, a phone that could take photos in 200 megapixels, and a phone that can zoom 10 times into the distance without losing a drop of quality. The upgrade from an S20 Plus was a big difference, especially the under-screen fingerprint scanner. I noticed a big difference in response time and accuracy with this new ultrasonic reader. My main concern for upgrade was the fact that I played a lot of games like Genshin Impact, which is a very intensive AAA game. There's not many phones out there that can sustain high settings at 60 FPS without stuttering or thermally throttling. And that is something that my S20 Plus really struggled with. Unboxing this phone for the first time, I realised how snappy it really was. Does it still stand the test of time in 2026? Well, you're about to find out. I'm just loading up Genshin Impact, and I'm telling you, the settings and the frame rate is still exactly how it was on day one, even 3 years later. You can see how smooth everything is, and this is on the highest details, highest quality, highest shadow quality, highest visual effects, SFX quality, everything is on the highest. You're on 60 FPS, and this is such a smooth experience. The phone hardly gets hot, and it does use a lot of battery, but compared to my old S20 Plus at the time, this is a perfect upgrade. Can I still say the same? Well, the latest phone you can pick up brand new for the same price one of these goes for, used on eBay, is around £330 in Britain. And that would get you a Galaxy A56 5G. And you don't quite get the same build quality as you do on an S23 Ultra with its frosted matte glass back. As you can see, the finish barely reflects any light, and the device has armoured aluminium sides, which is very similar to what you'd find on the latest Galaxy S26 Ultra. Flipping it back round to the front of the device, the glass is protected with Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which means it's more scratch resistant and less prone to cracking. One of the biggest differences I noticed with this phone over my old S20 Plus was battery life. This is primarily due to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy. This is a massive upgrade over the old Exynos processor, which did throttle and use a lot more power. At first, I was worried about the weight of the device being a good 30 grams heavier. However, I can quite happily say that over the last 3 years, I have never struggled with the weight. It is a heavy phone, but it's worth it in my opinion for the amount of specs and features this device comes with. I have used this device for a few months without a case fitted, hence why there are certain marks on each corner. And the back glass is actually scratch free because of this matte frosted finish. The camera modules have taken a little bit of a hit, but that's to be expected considering they protrude out so far and they even rock on a table. It's hard to resist when the colour is so nice to put a case on it, but sometimes you have to, just to preserve the condition. Even 3 years later, I'm impressed with how good the quality is on this phone. When the phone was brand new, the battery lasted over 2 days. Over time, that has decreased to about 1 day, and the battery health is still the same. I have looked after this phone by using the maximum battery 85% option. And if I go into a battery and I show you with Shizuku the battery health and condition, you can clearly see that the cycle count is over 800 cycles, but yet the maximum capacity is still 97%, which is only 3% off the maximum it had from factory, which is very impressive. One little gripe I will mention though is I have a Ugreen 100-watt GAN charger which has 4 ports, which is great for travel. If you do a lot of traveling, it is well worth investing. And when you plug it in, you will see that it only says super fast charger connected, which means it only charges at 25 watts. On the other hand, if you had a genuine Samsung 45-watt charger, it does appear that this works at the full 45 watts super fast charger 2.0. That is one annoying feature that I do not like about this phone. This does not affect the functionality of this device whatsoever. However, it is a rather annoying fact. Moving on to the camera. At one-time zoom, this camera is amazing in both 12 megapixel, 200 megapixel and 50 megapixel modes. The amount of detail is really impressive, and I've compared this camera 1-to-1 with a Canon EOS 80D, and it almost matches the same quality of that, even in 2026. As time's gone on, software updates have made it even better, especially with the introduction of Samsung's AI. And that follows through to 3x lens, which also retains the same amount of quality and detail, along with the 10x lens, which is great even in 2026 because majority of flagships do not have a dedicated 10x optical zoom. As you can see, the detail is very, very good. It does struggle a bit in low light conditions on this lens, and if I go a little bit closer, it does struggle to focus sometimes. You have to be at the right light and the right angle. But all in, this camera setup is very impressive for anybody who wants a phone and a decent camera to go along with it. This brings me on to the display. The display on this phone gets us amazingly bright. On the S23 Ultra, the brightness is a lot higher at 2600 nits. However, it depends on the way you perceive brightness. This is not that much dimmer than the latest flagship, and it is only peak brightness, which generally affects if you are in really dark light. It shows a bit more HDR contrast. But all in all, the screen is very impressive, including the viewing angles. The display can be seen bright and vibrant from any viewing angle due to its dynamic AMOLED 2x display. You will not be disappointed in the display quality even 3 years later. This is as good as the latest flagships, in my opinion. And over the 3 years I've owned this phone, I've never experienced any major issues, only a few bugs when it come to updating my Galaxy Watch 5 to One UI 5 watch. When I updated the S23 Ultra to the latest One UI 6.0, my watch was on an older version, which they didn't update straight away, which meant that the sleep mode was unable to sync properly to my watch. And this meant that at night time, the notifications were sounding and the watch wouldn't track any of my valuable sleep data. This couldn't be avoided until Samsung then released an update for the smartwatch. So, my final verdict. Do I think it is worth buying an S23 Ultra in 2026? And I would say yes, of course. If you can find one of these for under £350 in decent condition, it is 100% worth getting in 2026. The only thing to watch out for is the battery health. But if most people have looked after these phones and capped them at 85% or lower, I do think they'll be in decent condition even in 2026. The only annoying thing about the display is the curve. Now this means that when you try and install a screen protector that's tempered glass or privacy glass, it does struggle to attach onto the sides. The way you overcome this is by using a plastic TPU or PET protector, but then you don't have the added drop protection that a glass screen protector offers. However, the newer phones, like the S24 onwards, use a flat screen, so that is the only main advantage. However, I will say I have not used this phone with a screen protector, and the screen is in almost immaculate condition with hardly any scratches. Hardly any scratches whatsoever. It is very, very impressive. The Gorilla Glass Victus 2 has really come in handy. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.